Hi, everybody. I am Jessica Koch, and I am the host of Profound Professionals. We have started this interview series in 2018 with the premise of really featuring leaders in their industry who are doing amazing things, as well as who are touching the community or the lives of people in the world in a greater way. And today I have the honor of having Marla Ballard. She is the founder of Jump Off Point International and someone who's very special to me. I feel like she has this really great presence and this ability to work with her customers in a way that makes them feel focused and at peace. And I'm just so excited for her to share her story with you.
Thank you.
So welcome, Marla. How
Thank
are you?
I'm excited to be here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So tell us a little bit about yourself. So where you're from, just a little bit about who you are, the journey that got us to where we are sitting here.
We'll be here for a while.
That's right.
Well, I am originally from Kentucky. I actually live down in Southern Maryland, in Leonardtown, Maryland now, and really love it down here. It's just such a beautiful state. Chris and I always laugh. We feel like it's like Kentucky if it was on the water to us.
Well, I have to tell you, you may not know this, but my pop-up was mayor of Leonardtown when of course, when I was very young, or even maybe probably before I was born. And my nana, they lived in a little house at what used to be across from the firehouse. It's not there anymore. And she was the town seamstress. So Leonardtown is close to my heart too.
Oh, yeah, it's a beautiful place. We absolutely love it here.
So you were from Kentucky and you've landed here. How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting. I've had a lot of interesting careers at businesses. I actually went to University of Kentucky and studied equine science. So my degree is actually in animal science.
Wow.
And right out of college, I had a lot of interesting jobs in that field. While I was going through college, I was a vet tech for a leading equine firm called Hagyard's, which is a big veterinary clinic there. And I worked with them a lot. At one point, they actually opened the first licensed equine pharmacy in the state within their clinic, so that they had a pharmacist on staff that could actually write prescriptions just for horses. And I was a part of assisting with that too. And then right out of college, I was hired on as the business manager for a small racehorse farm in the Kentucky area. So that was really what I did, and I absolutely loved it. And I think for me, what I loved the most about it, besides being able to take my dog to work with me on the farm every day, was it really combined my passion for business and science at the same time, because I always loved, the nutrition aspect. When you work with large animals, your primary focus is on nutrition and anatomy and physiology, right, and movement. And so I really, really loved all of that. And but I also really loved business. And so I got to really combine those. And that's what I was doing when I met my husband. His sister, Chris's sister, and I, Joya, worked together. I did the business end of the farm and she did all the horse sales. And so we worked together for a long time, for several years, and really became good friends. And she had this younger brother who was a military guy who had been often stationed in Korea. And he came for a visit to take her out to lunch, and that's how Chris and I met.
Oh, that's nice. And you guys are one of those matches made in heaven. We appreciate his service and
he's amazing.
Yeah.
So he was an Army guy. And so it was his career that actually brought us to the DC area and took me out of there. I really loved Lexington. I absolutely loved what I was doing. It was, really, it was just fun. It was fun. Every day was a different day. We got to work with so many cool people, and the animals were just amazing. And when I say a small farm, I say that by Lexington standard. We ran about 250 head of horses.
Oh my gosh. For around here, that does not sound small.
No, it doesn't sound small.
He must be a super special guy for you to leave what sounds like a perfect job. I mean, I knew that you loved horses, and I knew that you had done something with them, but I didn't realize it was so extensive. So that's really
cool. That's really what I did. And so so when I married him, he was Army infantry. He was in command of a unit. He was company commander, and about a year away from deploying to Iraq. And so that's really, and the real difference between Chris and I is I absolutely loved what I did. I had a blast. I really just picked something in life that interested me and worked really hard to make it pan out. That's how I did it. Chris really followed his calling, and I hadn't had the experience of really having a calling to serve like that. So supporting that was an easy decision, right? But at the same time, I realized at the level of what I was doing and what my specialty and expertise was, there just aren't that many places in the world you can go that really can support that. And the Army doesn't go to any of them, at least not that I know of. So we really ended up, I followed his career. And so our first year of marriage, that entire first year, they were really threatening to deploy him to Iraq because the Iraq war had kicked off. It was pretty bad. And they were really threatening to deploy him pretty much every month that first year of our marriage until they finally did. He actually deployed about 2 days before our first anniversary.
Oh, that's so tough. My son is active duty Army. He is actually right now in Afghanistan and kind of stuck there for a while until they open up the international flights again. And it's really tough. So my heart goes out to you.
Thank you. Well, really
a little while, right?
Yeah. So I really appreciate his service, and really appreciate all of our veterans, especially on our mind with Memorial Day weekend coming up.
Yeah,
this
that's right. That's right.
So then thank you, because it's hard. It's not easy to be the family members back home either. It's a lot of worry and a lot of fear of the unknown, and there's just a lot of things that go on. So really appreciate what you guys are doing.
So they sent Chris, your husband, right before your anniversary, and then what?
Yeah. So I actually did, I took a job in retail management with Lowe's for about a year, because that was low hanging fruit. It was easy job for me to have. I really enjoyed it. So I went and became an assistant store manager for Lowe's while he was getting ready to deploy. And that was actually, we were out in Fort Lewis, Washington at that point. So I actually left Kentucky. Chris was already stationed in that direction when we were getting married. So I picked up and moved out there. And when their unit got to Mosul, the fighting was really bad. And so they really did have a pretty rough deployment. Chris's Humvee was actually at that point an HHC commander, which meant that he was primarily responsible for running a lot of resupply missions and things. And so they would take convoys of trucks and through the streets at really high speeds at alternating times at night to avoid any kind of difficulty in engagements. But he was about 4 months in, and his Humvee hit a roadside bomb. So he was pretty seriously injured about 4 months into his tour, because he had deployed in October, and it was early January, actually on their election day, when that happened. And so in that, he was actually at first scaled up as what's called very seriously injured. They sent him to Landstuhl, Germany. He was there for 2 weeks. They got him back to the States, and he was actually a total of about 6 weeks in the hospital, and had 26 surgeries to put him back together again in that 6 weeks, and a blood transfusion at every surgery. So we went through, man,
Marla, you're a brand new bride. Really? You just started your relationship. He is, on the other side of the world, and his severity of his injury vaguely, and you can't go see him. I mean, talk about a strength of character and a trial for you.
Yeah, we did it. But it was amazing. We had some beautiful people. I mean, fortunately, we had a lot of amazing people that supported and helped and lifted us up too, right? But for a lot of it, yeah, I mean, it really, in a way, if this makes sense, I was actually relieved to not go see him for the 2 weeks he was in Germany, because usually if they sent you there, it meant that death was imminent and you were going on a plane to say goodbye. So I was actually more afraid of that than not going, if that makes sense.
That actually makes sense.
I mean, so it's an interesting perspective, because you're right. In hindsight, I should have wanted to be there. But at the time, I was like, no, that's not what we want. So he actually did his recovery out in Fort Lewis, Washington, at the hospital there, which was pretty cool. Madigan Army Hospital there is phenomenal. It's also a teaching hospital. Usually don't hear as much about it as you do the Walter Reed complex, but Madigan actually was phenomenal, and they sent him there, and he just got phenomenal medical care. The surgeons that worked on him were just amazing. And so, here's the beautiful thing. If you meet him now, you've met him, Jesse. You would never know to meet him now, to see him, that he went through all that. But he was years.
Such a positive attitude too. And that is you guys as a couple. I feel like this story of how the two of you overcame this huge challenge really speaks to the service that Jump Off Point International provides, because it's so anchored in mindset and focus. So yeah, I mean, fantastic. I'm so glad that he is. I mean, it's like night and day, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's been a journey. It definitely has. So that was all in 2005. So we're a long ways away now, 15 years later. So in some ways, when you ask me about it and you ask me to remember it, it seems like, wow, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but in other ways, that's almost like a whole other lifetime too, right? But yeah, to meet him today, you'd never know. And he's absolutely extraordinary and amazing. But that's actually what brought us to the DC area, is because as an infantry guy, once he recovered enough out at Fort Lewis for them to transfer him, they actually sent him to Arlington, to the Old Guard, because that was a place that he could go while he was being, going through his medical board, and transitioning out of the Army, because that's a unit that generally didn't deploy. I mean, they had aspects of that unit that would deploy overseas, but that one usually stayed stateside. So that was a place during that time that he could be continuing his recovery and still be active duty. So that's what brought us here. And then what actually brought us down to Leonardtown is he's got a lot of siblings in the area, and got a job down here at the naval base. And so I had always grown up in family business. We always had family businesses growing up. My dad was self-employed. My mom it was an antiques dealer in town. And so she always was buying at estate auctions and reselling, and always had her own antique shop. And, then when she closed down the shop, she actually had a booth in someone else's shop, so she always, so I think entrepreneurship was just something I was exposed to from day one. And then I actually learned something interesting too. I guess communications has always been big for me too, because my father was a national debate champion when he was at UK, and very proud of that. And he really, really placed a lot of importance on teaching us how to speak and communicate clearly. And it's interesting, when I actually started really teaching and developing and training and working in the business. This is probably actually our fourth business now that Chris and I have had. But when I really started doing more mentoring, teaching, training, developing with business people and consulting that way, it was only a few months ago that my dad told me that when I was a baby, he was actually teaching communications as a professor at Wesleyan College in our hometown. And that he would take me as a baby and sit me up in the little hand basket, that you carry a baby in. He would sit me on the table with him while he was teaching communications and speech to college students. And I only found that out a few months ago.
Absorbed it in. So we should start getting babies to college with us. They could get the training way sooner. That's the message here, everybody.
Isn't that so fantastic? And the way it came about, it was so funny because, I really wasn't sure what Dad would think about all the stuff that I'm doing. It's like, no matter how old we get, you always wonder, like, what do your parents really think about
Like you do, right?
And so he had actually been, but since I got into what I do, he follows my website, he watches all my videos. I guarantee you they'll find and watch this interview. I mean, it's awesome. He even, because he's still in business. I mean, going to be 78 this year, and he's still practicing law and doing estate planning, right? He's still in business. And so he was actually downloading exercises off my website and doing them, and thought they were phenomenal. And then, he kind of told me, he's like, well, of course you can do this. This is because I used to take
it is always to the benefit of our parents, everything that we do. Because I started training you when you were in diapers for this position.
Awesome. And so, but how cool is that though? I didn't know that. And what he always taught, he taught something called the win-lose trap, working with big companies. That was something that they taught back then. And so when he told me this, it was really cool. He still has a book on that from the 60s that he gave me.
Wow.
So it's just fascinating. You start to realize how all these things come together. But anyway,
we're chatting like we have a big secret. So it'll be more interesting for everyone if you can tell them what you do now and how you help businesses with Jump Off Point International.
Yeah, I guess we should get to that, right?
Sense.
No, that's a good idea. So when Chris was injured, I was really looking for a way, because I was a kid out of my element. I mean, here I was a kid from Kentucky, and now I'm dropped in the DC area with no clue. Again, perspective is everything, right? But at that time, 15 years ago, I could not perceive what a horsey girl with an equine degree could possibly do that was employable in the Northern Virginia, DC community, right? Like I couldn't even, it was the whole thing was so unfathomable to me. But so we started a supplement company. We created a corporation called Freedom Wellness back then. And we actually became part of a network marketing company, a MLM company. And we sold nutritional products and a turnkey program to a lot of doctors' offices around the region. And so it was a very different type of thing. This was before the economy went down. Our price points were $20,000 and $40,000 buy-ins, and sometimes even more for a practice to come on board with us. And so we did that sales at a very high level. And Chris and I had that for 10 years. I love, nutrition was an easy fit for me. So that was really our first big company together. And while I was doing that, I also partnered with some amazing people, teamed up with some really, really amazing business people in Northern Virginia, and we launched a networking group called Positive Power.
Best one I've ever been to in that kind of space. Like I've been to a lot, and I really enjoyed meeting the great people. You did a great job with that, Marla.
Thank you for saying that. Was amazing.
It was mindset of the group. It was the tone. It was the culture of the group, because all groups, referral groups are not created equal, even if they have carry the same trademark. It really is the culture and the mindset of the people that matter the most. And they were some of the best people, the energy there that I ever met. I really enjoyed that.
That is an incredible group. In the 10 years that we had that group, we actually tracked our referrals, and we reported on net, not gross. And we brought in about $9 million in 10 years in referral business amongst about 30 to 35 members. And the culture of that group was, you're right. Thank you for saying that. That group, phenomenal culture. They still exist. I just am not a part of them since we are in Maryland now. I ended up leaving the group. But
you have to miss them.
I miss them terribly. Well, and we're all still friends, right? I mean,
right.
I still have tons of support with them in business, and we help each other, and we communicate, and we continue to mentor and grow with each other, and it's amazing. And so that was, and I really consider that to be really my second company, right? Because we put a lot into that group, the ones of us that founded it, and really tried to create it. And so that we did for 10 years simultaneously with our marketing company as a part of that. And so I always had trained and developed business people. I just did it for, more or less kind of like for free in a way, because I was getting paid through the marketing company that we had.
I can't wait.
Exactly. But I loved it, and I had people for years that had been asking me to just go into consulting, because that, I would always be meeting and networking with people that were in all different stages of development and business. And it was just kind of, business is intuitive for me. So I would really just kind of walk into a business and look around and meet people and just say, hey, had you thought about this and this? And they'd be like, oh, I hadn't. And then they'd come back and be like, hey, you said this one little thing when we met, and I went and tried it out and implemented it, and it did great. So I had people asking me to go into that. So at the end of 2017, when we closed down that marketing company, I jumped right into consulting and doing
No pun
training and
intended,
development.
because now we're at jump off point
We're
international.
now at jump off point, right?
Jumped
Exactly.
right in. We didn't say that
Yeah.
out loud.
That's it. And that's part of why I did, this is your jumping off point. So, and it was for me.
Yeah. Sink or swim, sister, we're going.
That's it. That is it. And so it was really funny. Within 2 weeks, I had my first client. I mean, it just,
But it's
I
not
felt like
just
it was
business consulting. It's not just sales consulting. It's so
no.
much better than that. She's still not sharing all the juicy details. I'm trying to get them out of her. Hang in there with me. They're coming. Okay,
Yeah,
tell us
so
really cool stuff.
yeah, thank you for saying, and I'm so glad you love it. So what I do that is a little unique and different is I also got trained in something called the theta healing technique, which is a phenomenal, and that is actually an intuitive healing modality.
Yes.
And so that is more in the realm of spirituality. And when I say spiritual, I don't necessarily mean like religious spiritual. A lot of times everybody has a different way that they define spiritual when you use that word, right? But think more like meditation, healing, and how you perceive and connect to your spirituality. So it takes into account all religious beliefs.
For me, it's even so much more powerful than that. It's not the, and I have some great respect for all different kinds of healing and types of services and consulting and even counseling. But this one, even though it's the theta healing and it is connected to the spiritual, it is the kind of thing that removes the blocks from the C-suite, so that they can be the more powerful leaders that they want to be, so they're able to draw out the best in their people. It is that blockage remover that helps that salesperson who's been studying the skill set forever, but they just haven't moved past their own mindset to get out of their own way.
Yeah.
And everyone says that, oh, how do you're standing in your own way. What does that even mean? Like,
right?
Nobody knows. What does that mean? I want to achieve. What do you mean I'm standing in my own way? And half the time that is a true statement, but nobody knows what to do with it or how to solve that in a way that is professional. It's connected to business. It's still connected to kind of the big picture and the whole unit, whether you believe in creator or I mean, it's kind of hard not to believe in creation. I mean, we're a planet here. We're walking around all this beautiful stuff. Whatever it is you believe, it pulls you through this, and it's amazing. And so that is why people need to work with you, because it's so much more than, and I know you have this great business mind. I know you have this great sales mind, but it's so much more than business or sales consulting. It is this space that helps you open up everything that you want to do. So you should talk more about it than me. Sorry.
You're doing a great job. I'm like, I'll just keep going.
The coffee is finally kicking in, just saying.
Yeah, thank you for being so excited about it. But so what it allows us to do, it's really an interesting thing. What it really allows us to do, and what I use it for when I work with business people and professional community, is really allows us to go right in a very short amount of time and find what the deeper subconscious blocks or limitations are, and absolutely release those, and then completely recreate it. And it's instantaneous in a session. It happens very, very quickly. When I've done it with teams, what we do is a lot of times we'll go in with a team and start out with stating and setting what the goal of the team is. Because when we bring up everybody's goals and what the outcomes are, that also will trigger anybody's fears or doubts or frustrations around it. So we first set the goals and then bring up any fears or frustrations or doubts, and then work with the whole team to release what those are, right? And that can be around a project. Sometimes a project the team is trying to create and the project is just stuck or stagnates. So it can be around a project, it can be around performance, it can be around sales goals. And then once we clear out all the things that are holding everybody back, then we sit together and completely recreate it, and then go through a way of meditating in a theta brainwave to actually manifest it as a team and put the intention in that we want to create and the outcomes we want to create. And it really sort of helps hit the reset button So whether we do this for an individual one-on-one, that, you know, a lot of my business clients and career professionals come to me because it's like, you know, I want to expand, I want to grow, I see it all there, and I'm just kind of stuck, or I'm not expanding or growing at the rate that I had envisioned. And a lot of times it's just coming in and releasing whatever programs or limitations may be there. And that can occur on a lot of different levels. And so you're right. When I originally trained in it, and it is, we call it woo woo, right? It's kind of woo woo.
Right.
And so yeah, so I definitely, but I did do a lot in sales and marketing. We succeeded at a very high level in sales and marketing. We were always a top worldwide producer for that company that we repped for. And did it all over the world. They often asked us, Chris and I together, to come and train internationally. So we did a lot of their training and development, and were featured in a lot of the write-ups that the company did, and everything. And so that part was the easy part for me. And, you know, of course, my husband is just a natural leader. So right. So
Although
that
all the times I've seen him, you're the fearless leader and he is the supporting follower. So that's how I've seen it. I think we both have amazing Chris's. Both of our husbands happen to be named Chris, and we got like the cream of the crop in the world of Chris's as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for saying. So yeah, so when I actually went and trained in this modality, I had been introduced to it by a business coach that I had, and she just did a phenomenal
I
job.
got to meet her, and she
Yes,
is super amazing.
she's fantastic.
Drove all the way to Virginia to see her. Best time ever
Yep.
spent. I am just
She is fantastic. So
I
yeah,
think
and so
more too. So, but yes, just wonderful group of people. There's really a powerful energy, and I think the more you soak yourself in this, which is why I want to come to your trainings and eventually add that to my certification as a consultant, because there is this amazing energy and power behind this. I think we all have it. I think this just allows us to understand it enough to unlock it. You know, I mean, hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn, but I feel like I feel so drawn and connected to, and I know it's part of my journey. So
absolutely. Thank you for saying. No, I absolutely believe it. And that's, you know, so you're bringing me to why I love it. I first certified in it for myself because I thought it would be a great tool to have in my kit for consulting clients, right? I very quickly realized that I wanted to become an instructor so that I could really teach it. So I am a certified instructor with the theta healing technique. I do teach classes, and I have a ton of business and professional people that come certify in it. Some will actually use it to do the kinds of things that I'm doing, but most will actually use it to work with their team, with their business, with their sales, and just really utilize it as an amazing technique to get more out of whatever you're up to. And so it definitely helps shift perspective. And I love teaching it, and I love when I'm working one-on-one with people teaching them, because I never wanted to be one of those trainers that went in and got everybody all hopped up, but then you leave and it's like, oh, isn't she fabulous, or isn't he fabulous? And then it's over and there's no meat to it. And so because that's how I was when people would train or mentor me, or I would go to those training events, I was like, okay, but I don't want to just be in a big thing that gets my energy up for a couple of days. I mean, give me something practical I can actually implement, and some tools and tricks and tips in my, I want a new skill set. And so for me, it's always been really important to teach and train others, so that long after they've worked with me, they can continue to implement that on their own. I never wanted to be, I always wanted to be a support and to empower and encourage, but I always want people to be able to really reach their full potential, whatever that is for them on their own.
We will be sure that in the description of this YouTube video, as well as in the LinkedIn article and the comments of the Facebook, wherever you find this, you'll be able to find ways to reach and follow Marla. You'll also be able to see what's up and what's coming as far as classes go for her. So it'll always be kind of more evergreen for what's coming up. Is there anything else about the business piece that you want to share with everybody watching now live, or have we covered it?
I think we've covered it. Thank you for asking, and also thank you for being such an enthusiastic advocate for what I'm up to. I really appreciate it.
I love it. So the premise of the show since 2018 is really to feature amazing people that are leaders in their industry that really have achieved what so many of us are striving to, so that we can follow that and add those people to our circles and really develop and grow. Now, that being said, the next big piece of why this show exists is because I love to spread awareness about all the different needs and causes that even I don't necessarily know are out there, so we can get some awareness and some support. So if you happen to hear about a cause on my show that touches your heart, maybe you can support it, or you can implement something like it where you are, or you will be motivated and inspired to do whatever it is that touches your heart to help the community or the world at large. So that is the goal for this part of the show, is for it to be an inspiration and a jump off point for other people to do good, right? So with that being said, can you share with us, outside of business, what makes your heart sing and what you're involved in?
Yeah. Oh, so many things. So, one of the dreams that I had really since the age of about 25 was to ultimately have some kind of a foundation or a nonprofit that would be able to help uh, people that were women and children that were leaving abusive situations, right? And
Mhm.
so over 20 years, I'm telling you how old I am now, over 22 years,
You don't look
that
it, so
that
that's good.
thank you. That vision has really evolved, and Chris is my husband has really been on board with it, because we really realized that as we age, and when we do finish up, more of our business life and want to retire, we really can envision being able to have a foundation that we work together in. And so that reality is becoming a dream, because I've found some people that are very like-minded. And we actually just dropped the paperwork in February. So we're right at the very beginning. We're launching something called My Freedom Center. And this is really a foundation that's focused on creating programs and resources for people that are in trauma and addiction recovery. And right now, our focus is on very quickly creating programs to help a lot of the folks that are in the medical community that are going through a lot of just enormous amounts of stress and uncertainty and fear and discomfort right now with all the COVID virus.
I love
And
that.
so that's going to be our first area of focus there. And then it'll be a phased rollout of how we do things, but we're starting there. And we've already just had, in just a few short months, we're gaining traction already very quickly.
Great.
Um, we've got, so one of the president of our board of directors, Victoria Rader, has created something called the Quantum Freedom Group and the Quantum Freedom Technique. And we're actually already using participation in that group as a way to raise funds. So it's very cool, because it's a daily kind of a course meditation fun thing to participate in. And when you pay for that, your membership every month, that goes to help fund our nonprofit.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
So we'll
so
make
that's
sure
pretty
all those
cool.
links are in there too.
Yes, we will definitely make sure. But we're so new at this that and everybody in business understands this. I mean, you start with a vision and a mission and a goal and an outcome that you see, and then you have to just sort of allow it to unfold how it's going to unfold. So
Sure.
I can tell you that our end game hasn't changed, but what we're doing on a on a week in week out basis this early in it is. And so we're getting the website off the ground. We're getting all of the structures and things in place. We've already talked. We had some amazing people that have already come in and presented to our board of directors about programs we can implement and how we can reach our target audience and all of that. So I'm just super, super excited about it. The other place where we see ultimately bringing it in is also helping with, continuing on helping with trauma and addiction recovery resources and supporting that. And so also one of our focuses will be to work with kids as they're transitioning out of the foster care system,
Oh, nice.
to help with that, to help with skill sets for having careers or running a great business, and releasing anything that needs to be let go of, and then teaching all kinds of different tools and skill sets and coping skills and ways to expand and grow and develop. And So I'm really excited about that. If you were to ask me what I'm passionate about, it's really that. And it's interesting because my husband and I have always, our entire life together, we've always donated to organizations on a monthly basis. But we actually really sat down a few years ago and said, you know, we're donating all these different things. Where do we really want to put our dollars? And what we found is that for both of us, that any program that is expanding and growing, um, you know, children, teens, young adults, and adults, those are the kinds of programs. So whether it's programs to, you know, to have expansive experiences through trips, right, or STEM programs, you know, programs like what we're doing with My Freedom Center, where we're going to be able to ultimately provide retreats and licensed programs and all kinds of different events and things that people can tap into, education, things that really help people to empower and expand their horizons, expand their awareness and their understanding and their growth.
That's fantastic. Well,
Thank you.
That's very exciting, because I remember a long time ago you having this vision of a cause to start for yourself that would support others, and I think that's fantastic. Somehow I know that horses are going to be involved in this program in some.
Oh, we absolutely, you know, and it's so you're absolutely darn skippy. I mean, that is another aspect of it that we envision, is that there will be a animal therapy aspect to it, absolutely. And what's been wild about it is, you know, we've already got 3 people that I know when the time is right, and that have animal foundations on their own, that I'm, you know, very good friends with and have worked with in other capacities, that are kind of like, I know when we're ready for that, they're there and they're ready to support and help us find what we need. I mean, so it's just amazing.
All right, so are you listening, billion-dollar philanthropist? So when you're ready, reach out to Marla. You can help her design and set up this amazing retreat resort center that's got horses and all of the licensed therapy that everybody could possibly need. And that's the vision. And so just go on over. You'll find all her contact information, so that you can just show up with the check.
There you go. I love it. Absolutely.
Manifesting things live on YouTube.
Well, why not, right?
Why not? I believe. So that being said, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch. If you're watching the replay, please make sure you send some comments and love. Show your love with action. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. But before we completely say goodbye, I would love if you had something, Marla, that you could share with us, a quote, a book, something that you do daily, something that's kind of transformed your life and really made an impact, that you can share with everybody before we anchor off for good.
Sure, absolutely. I think that one of the things that has had the deepest impact on my life is learning so much about how our brain works, because that's something I've studied a lot, and learning that really gratitude and love, you can actually change the neural pathways in your brain through gratitude and love. And so if you're asking me something that I do daily, I really start out every day by just really doing a light meditation in the morning, and really making sure that I'm fully connected, and just waking up and starting my morning in just immense gratitude for all that I have, and all the amazing people that I get to work with, and having, you know, great health and happiness and a good happy life, you know, it just happiness and gratitude for everything. And through that, then just asking to be shown, who do I need to help today?
Yeah.
And it's really amazing, because I think that the more that I practice gratitude, the more expansive it seems like my life becomes. And just in asking the question, show me what's next, or show me who I'm meant to help today, or show me what I need to contribute today, or show me how today. It's amazing how people just pop in my mind, or call out of the blue, or, you know, message me off my website. You know, it's so I really do believe that practice opens us up, because I believe we are deeply connected to each other. I believe that we all do have a huge impact on each other's success, whether we realize it or not. And so I think just opening up to that, and then being grateful so much, loving and grateful so much for all that's there, is just an amazing way to start the day.
I totally agree. Thank you so much for your time today, Marla. And thanks again,
Thank you.
everybody watching. Remember, you know the thing, you know all the things to do, the like, the share, the commenting. Reach out to us if you happen to know someone that's amazing and inspiring that you feel like you should nominate to be on this show. Maybe it's you, I don't know. We'll see you next time on the next Profound Professionals. And thank you again, Marla. Bye, everybody.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Like, share, and comment. Bye.
Bye.